Hello, beautiful faces, and this is Honestly Biased News and Community. My name is Aaron Gregory Austin, and my beautiful co-host, Patty Lewis. Hello, Patty.
Hi, Aaron. How are you?
Good. We're back after a few weeks of completely ignoring the show as if it does not exist.
I
Wonderful.
was between semesters. Darn it, I deserved a break.
This is fair. I am dating, and that tends to take a lot of my time. I thought I had zero time to do anything, but bought a new car, got promoted at my day job that pays for things like, rent and food and stuff.
Always a good thing.
Right, as this does not, which is fine. Um, how was your past few weeks? Tell me about them.
It was good. I got a couple of weeks off from class, which was so needed. Got my kitchen cabinets painted. I got to see my mom for the first time in a year. In a year.
Yeah.
Because we are all finally vaccinated now, so we can do that sort of thing.
Yes. Tell me about how you feel about the new mask guidance. No masks for vaccinated people inside and outside.
So I have heard just an alarming degree of snark about the people who continue to wear masks.
Mm-hmm.
And I will tell you, I'm a person who continues to wear my mask in public. One, because I've seen the rates of vaccination in Mississippi. They're crap. Two, a lot of places still ask me to wear a mask. So generally in public, I am wearing a mask, although I did go to an indoor restaurant for the first time since February of last year.
Wow. So, with your mom?
Actually, no, I did a ton of cooking for my mom. And we went to an outdoor barbecue place. My parents were like, oh my gosh, you can cook for us now. This is great. This was actually for a classmate's birthday, and the food was so good. It was definitely worth it. But so as far as still wearing a mask, I will say, I started wearing a mask long before it was even mandated because I was working in the ER at that time. And so I knew I was exposed to COVID and I was putting other people at a higher risk by being around me. Yeah. So I wore a mask. So I've been wearing a mask for, 15 months now. Yeah. I'm kind of used to it in public. I also wear them at work during flu season pretty frequently anyways, because I don't want the flu. Yeah. So I was wearing it before they recommended it. I'm totally comfortable wearing it after they recommended it. That being said, if you are fully vaccinated and you don't want to wear a mask in the grocery store, current CDC guidelines are saying that is okay. Mm-hmm. And I believe they have evidence to that effect, or they would have not told you that. Right. Now, what I've loved the CDC to come out and say, until at least half of people are vaccinated in the area, you can't have anyone go without a mask, and sort of dangle that over people's heads to encourage vaccination. I would have loved to have seen that, but I don't make the rules. So yeah, and I actually think for the first time in a year, not only a couple months ago did I get my membership back at the gym, but I also have now been to the gym 3 times with no mask. And I will tell you, I can deal with having the mask anywhere else. The gym, you running on a treadmill and you're about sucking in fabric. It's really, really frustrating. We still keep our distance, me and my partner, just because people are a little off about it. But it's a large gym, very open. I don't feel stressed. And then when we talk about the vaccination data for Oregon, vaccinations, it looks like administered were, 3,735,000. Percentage-wise, as the administered vaccines as a share of delivered is 76.8. The population vaccinated is 51.6. So when you talk about half, I'm like, speaking of which, talk about timing. And if we look at, Mississippi where you are. It's not. Yeah, let's see. Let me pull it up here. Ooh, it's 33.7. So there are 2 factors in that. Yeah. And it's very sort of divided down by race. Yeah. You have the white people who are mostly Republicans and like hardcore Trump supporters who aren't getting the vaccine. And then you have a large Black population who's going like, you say this is good for us, but
Right.
there's a long history there of you being like, hey, Black people, be the guinea pig on this. So I get the skepticism there.
And honestly, like when you look at like all the rest of them, you know, California's at 54.1, which is incredible for such a large state. You look at the smaller states, which make more sense. You've got like Maryland's at 54, Maine's at 60%. I'm trying to find the one who's beating everybody right now, and I want to say that it's DC, but DC's at 54.4. Yeah, I don't see, maybe even, I was like, maybe Rhode Island. No, Rhode Island's at 58.8. So it's pretty amazing that like it is on track. Things are looking great. But
the problem is that a lot of people who are wanting to get vaccinated have already been vaccinated. And there are definitely still a large population of just like, oh yeah, I'll get around to it. You know, I've been meaning to do that. But there's also a large portion of that group who's just not interested in it.
Right. Yeah. And I want to kind of talk about the governor because the governor of Oregon, excuse me, Kay Brown, who's progressive, was one of the first bisexual governors in the country. She's very positive. For the most part, I agree with her, I think, on almost everything. This was one of those things where kind of what you're talking about. Look, people at this point should be vaccinated or on their way to get vaccinated. If they are not, they're not going to. They don't care. And Oregon is a very blue city and a very red state. And when people see that, they tend to be more. She basically what the governor's doing is she's shutting things down and then opening them up and then shutting them down or dropping the risk from high risk to low to extreme risk to high risk and then going back up to extreme risk. And at this point, I can't think of any political party who is frustrated because like, look, on the red side, it's like we don't want to do it. We're not going to do it. We don't believe in it. On the blue side, it's they don't want to do it at this point. If they're going to kill themselves, they're going to kill themselves. Like, you know, and I think in a few weeks, it'll make more sense because like there are people still trying to get it and they're waiting in line or getting their turn. I know a couple of my friends who still have not got it, but it's not because they don't want to. They're just trying to get in line. So I think in a couple of weeks, it'll feel a little bit better from there. But yeah, Oregon's a little interesting, like where Mississippi is, where you have valid reasons on why people don't to get it. With Oregon, we got some people who just have very.
Now, granted, we have that same population of people who are just unwilling to do the right thing. They're like, I don't want to wear a mask and I don't want to get a vaccine. Fuck you.
Right.
We have those. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
Well, yep. It's like, yeah, I don't want to wear a mask. I want to get back to normal. It's like, well, then get the vaccine. Well, I don't want to get the vaccine. It's like, what part of this don't you understand? You need to do one or the other.
Right. And that's the thing too. I got to tell you, the funniest thing is listening to Democrats and progressives who now let me state this as I talk to you about it, because you were in a red state where the percentage is so freaking low. I mean, 30% is low. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
So
we're one of the bottom.
Yeah.
It's not the bottom.
I don't blame you wearing your mask, but in Oregon, where it's 51%, where people are getting at least one shot at the 76% range or whatever like that. All right, look, now you're being a little crazy because people are like, I'm still going to wear my mask.
And you know what? Here's the thing. Yeah. Unless it is doing you harm or doing someone else harm, do whatever makes you comfortable. Being too careful doesn't cause anyone else any problems.
Right.
You know, if you are doing it to the point, you know, if you are afraid to go outside because you're afraid of getting sick and you don't have, you know, if you're not immunocompromised, if you've had the vaccine, things like that, you're immunocompetent, you know, don't let it cause you anxiety or anything like that. But if you want to be more careful, that's never a terrible thing. It's the blatant disregard for other people that I object against.
Yeah, and that's totally fair. I think this year, and don't quote me, there was little or no deaths from the flu.
I believe last I looked, no pediatric deaths
Yeah.
from the flu. There's
Okay.
still a couple hundred, but normally we have tens of thousands. So
Right. Yeah.
it makes a very big difference in communicable diseases. And I don't know about you, but I haven't had a cold since we've had all of this in place.
I haven't, and honestly, it's a little trippy to me because I know that part of the conspiracy theory was, oh, well, all that we're not getting sick now, so that must mean that like they know when they're getting people sick. But like exactly what you're saying, the reality is it's nothing to do with that at all. It's putting a mask over your face actually protects you from getting disgusting germs all over other.
Well, that's why during flu season, during a normal year, I would wear a mask whenever I was around any patients with infectious symptoms because I didn't want it. And guess
Right.
what? I didn't get the flu from them.
Yeah, and I actually am thinking like, especially during the winter time, is still maybe wearing a mask. I feel like
Well, especially in some place that's really crowded. I mean, I think back to when I lived in New York, being on the subway there, like, heck yeah, I would wear a mask on the subway going forward in the winter.
right.
I think my record on the subway was I was simultaneously touching 5 different people because we were crammed in there like such sardines.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I'm there with you 100%. And honestly, like with COVID and everything, I know we didn't do the numbers today. I kind of am okay not doing the numbers today because maybe we can slowly gravitate away from that. But if you already did the
yeah.
research, go crazy.
To be honest, I think focusing more on sort of the vaccine numbers is the
Mhm.
more important thing, and looking that, you know, a lot of states are hitting sort of the 50% mark and even getting into the 70s for people who've had at least one vaccine.
Mhm.
And getting up into the 70s, 80s, 90s is where we need to be for herd immunity. So that's a really good goal. And even with, if you get, say, the Pfizer vaccine or the Moderna vaccine that are the 2-dose ones, you still have pretty good coverage with just a single dose.
Right. Yeah. No, absolutely. I agree. Okay, so we are going to be right back with a quick commercial break, and then we have a special mid-year review of what's been going on. So we will be right
Mid-year already?
mid-year. We're like in June already. All right, we'll be right back. Okay, and we are back with Patty, hottest topics. So we wanted to go through a year in review, at least mid-year,
Half year in review.
half year. We're going to start pretty quickly because we want to get through the next 6 months in the next, 10 to 15 minutes. So we'll try. All right, we're going to talk January. So January this year, hard to believe, but that's when a lot of Trump's supremacists, I'm going to call them, decided to not only riot but storm the U.S. Capitol and try to kidnap Congress.
And they were trying to overturn the certification of the election because they didn't agree with the results. So
Right.
Turns out they don't like democracy anymore when they don't win.
They thought it was fake. They thought, and after that, there's a lot of crazy changes. Mark Zuckerberg blocked Donald Trump, Twitter blocked Trump. Like a lot of people definitely blamed him for the riots.
Well, he just kept telling them that January 6th is going to be huge and
Right.
for everyone to show up, and then, just urged them all down to the Capitol and said he'd be right behind them.
Right.
Turns out that was not the case because Trump doesn't walk anywhere, but.
Right, right. And honestly, there are some right-wing extremists who are Trump supporters who were extremely hurt that he didn't go with them because they thought he was
my
like
heart
God.
bleeds for them.
Right. All right. And then also in January, Alex Trebek, who had died in November 2020, his final episode of him hosting ended, which sprang a spell of several different hosts who may be taking his place, women, men. My favorite, of course, is Geordie LaForge from Star Trek, LeVar Burton, who also is reading Rainbow, grew up with. He got to host as well, and I really hope they pick him because I think he would be amazing. Speaking of bans, the app, the right-wing app Parler, which had helped incite the Capitol riots, was banned. And I can't believe this, but January also was when the former President Trump was impeached twice.
Again.
Again, nothing happened. He was not held accountable again. Pretty amazing. Pretty amazing stuff.
Although that's the only time that anyone who's impeached has ever had any votes from their same party.
Right.
So while it was completely underwhelming and completely predictable, there was actually weirdly surprising amount of opposition to Trump that went into that.
Yeah. And of course, like, the president's campaigns that happened in, for 2020, it was nuts. One of them was Andrew Yang. After he dropped out, he decided to run as mayor of New York, which is actually kind of exciting because I do like Yang. I think he'd be a good mayor, as far as I'm aware. I think that would be good. Then the hell of Trump was gone, and January 20th, President Joe Biden was inaugurated, first female vice president in history, not only making her the first female, but the first Black and South Asian vice president, which is pretty fantastic and amazing. And then from there, Biden got to work. A lot of progressive policies were enacted. Trans rights were enacted. Biden also joined the Paris Climate Agreement again, and also ended the World Health Organization policy that Trump was going to end it or something. I forgot that one.
Yeah, we're backing out of the WHO because they're talking about COVID and it makes me look bad. And I don't think it went any further than that in Trump's brain. Just you oppose me, you're bad.
Right. It's just so nice to have him out of office. Look, I will tell you, if the right president, the right person runs, it doesn't matter what political party. I believe I would vote for somebody that made sense. But if you're going after someone like Trump just because he's a Republican or says he's a Republican, because we all know back in 2005 to 2013, something like that, he was actually a Democrat. But everyone forgets that because after he ran, he was like, no, I'm a Republican. So
the institutional memory of Trump supporters is just alarmingly short, and Trump can flip-flop positions from day to day, and his supporters will eat that shit up like nothing else. That's why the 2020 Republican platform was literally just Trump. They didn't take a stand on any issue whatsoever. They had no platform other than we will gobble up whatever falls from Trump's ass.
It's just so weird that we keep thinking as a society that they don't work for us and they, rule us. And that's really not what democracy is about. It's about the people having the voice. And we definitely
it should be.
Yeah. And honestly, like, I will have my vibes and complaints about how I felt that the Democratic Party definitely pushed Bernie out of the election again. But at the same time, nobody wanted Biden to win. Like, he was everyone's fifth choice. Everyone, even Harris, who dropped out, we're like, can we bring her back? Like, we're fine with that. Nobody really wanted Biden to win until it was literally between Biden and Trump. And then it was like, okay, we should probably take that one.
But more than anything, there is no other person that you should agree with 100%. If you are agreeing with another person on literally everything, you are probably not thinking for yourself. True. I don't know what I disagree with you about, Aaron, but I'm sure there's something.
I don't like pancakes.
Okay, yeah, fuck you.
There we go. Right. I like waffles. I don't like pancakes. Ew. Also dill pickles, disgusting.
Sweet pickles are a monstrosity, and I
love sweet pickles. See, there we go.
Gross. Dill pickles.
Yeah. Boo. So Senate confirmed Pete Buttigieg as a first openly gay cabinet secretary. As many people complain about, Trump's like, oh no, I brought somebody gay in. He brought him as an intern. He never was confirmed by the Senate. So I don't want to hear people giving me crap about that. Bezos in February also stepped down as Amazon CEO. And then from there, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, if you're a sports fan, got Tom Brady his seventh. He got a Lombardi trophy, and he also won his Super Bowl. I can't remember his seventh. I think he's won Was it 7th? Maybe he's won 7. It's just pretty incredible that like he goes to any team and it's like, okay, they win. Like, pretty. Yeah, and I know you hate it.
I'm facially voicing my dissent here for everyone listening. Just infinite looks of disgust. I have very pointed opinions about Tom Brady. He's a friend of Trump's. We'll leave it there.
Yeah. I will say I was disappointed in that. And the thing about Trump too, I'm in February that made things hilarious to me is they still acquitted Trump after all the evidence piled up on him. Unbelievable.
Although a bunch of them were just like, he's not president anymore, so we don't care. And that was their excuse for acquitting him. They wouldn't even pretend to entertain the evidence. It was just like, yeah, not president.
Yeah. Honestly, I mean, and so good news, he's not in office. It is a little scary that because he was acquitted, there was no repercussions of what he did, which could give him motivation to do something worse. But in February, Rush Limbaugh, a conservative radio show host, someone who would actually celebrate, I believe it's the 80s or 90s, that every time a gay person died, he would have a celebration on his radio show when one of them would die of AIDS. He died at 70. So
of lung cancer, which was brought on by himself from smoking. Right. So rot in hell, Rush Limbaugh.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Like at first I was like, I don't know how I feel. Like, I don't want to like wish death or evil upon anyone, but yeah, fuck that guy.
You know, some people just occasionally get what's coming to them, and death by lung cancer, I think, was deserved in this case.
Yeah, I think it was time. He needed to just go away. And I'm, give it another 10, 15 years. A lot of these moderates that I'm not a big fan of, I'm ready for them to go. Get out of office. Like, let's start actually taking care of people, not focusing on money as much. Like, that's stupid.
Well, and so many of the moderates, they don't need to die. Just step back and let other people have ideas.
Right. It's just, But in February was even crazier because we got the craziest storms. I know in Oregon, it was iced up insane. And then I think we were on the radio when you were like, it's bad over here too.
No, I couldn't leave my house for a week. There was so much ice. Places lost water. This was the same one in Texas where a bunch of people died because, funny story, the Republicans screwed up the power grid. They knew they screwed up the power grid. And then when the consequences of their actions came through, they were like, windmills. It's the windmills. Yeah. It's all that.
Oh, it's climate. Oh my God. It was the windmills. Oh my God.
But like we lost water here. I thankfully kept power, but a lot of people lost power for weeks. We got down to single digit temperatures in Mississippi. Can you just contemplate how crazy that is?
Well, I mean,
because it's currently like 85 and just like glaringly sunny. I took Aaron outside. It is full on summer here.
Yeah, it is. And honestly, what's crazy about that is that the fact that all of us that were, I know climate change should not be a political thing. It really shouldn't. It's like a science.
Well, it's like mask wearing shouldn't be political. Right. It's based on science, but the regressives want to deny science to keep their positions.
Oh my God, we need to use that so much more often. Regressives, yes. I know in around January 26th, we hit over 100 million cases of COVID. Death toll in end of February was 500,000. It's insane because you can't compare that to how many 9/11s would that have been? Like, and
we were having like a 9/11 a day in late January. It was bad.
Yeah. And then of course, Johnson & Johnson got approved. So under the Trump administration, both Pfizer and Moderna were going through. I'm not excited to say that. You can be the one to be like, fuck him still. But then under Biden, Johnson & Johnson got approved. It was supposed to be 1 dose. Later on, we found out that dose actually could create blood clots and was killing a couple people.
I would like to say something on that.
Yes.
So it's a very weird, very, very uncommon blood clot thing that even at the rates that they were like, whoa, let's hold off on the Johnson & Johnson vaccine until we figure out what's happening. It is only women of childbearing age who are at an increased risk for blood clots anyways, which is why they tell women like, you shouldn't be on hormonal birth control and smoke at the same time, because the risk of a blood clot is so much higher than with that vaccine.
Yeah.
So it is women of childbearing age who are at a higher risk anyways. And the number of women that had these blood clots was incredibly, incredibly rare. So if you are, a 20 to 40 woman, what I say, prioritize getting one of the other vaccines if you can.
Yeah.
Sure, I think that's reasonable. But I also don't feel like this is an unsafe vaccine, and the risks versus benefits in my boat, if all I had was the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, I would get it.
Yeah. And I agree. I agree with that 100%. And I think people who aren't at that risk are starting to take that. Now, I do want to bring something up. We're in March. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. I don't really follow them that much, but I did watch the tell-all interview with Oprah. Fascinating stuff. Basically, Meghan Markle accused the Buckingham Palace basically of not only racism, but had also said that there is a certain way they act like when they're really not, which obviously we know that, but the fact that,
I mean, to be honest, is the racism even surprising? I mean,
right.
Really?
I mean, I think what the situation was that basically they were wondering if her child was going to come out too dark. And it's just right, that's the look we get. It's just like, what?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those, it's disappointing, but it's not really surprising. And I don't know, I didn't think it was like news, but I don't really care about the royal family. So
yeah, I mean, I think if you're being treated, it goes back because it was bringing up like Princess Diana and how she had kind of tried to expose them. And then, okay, I know it's super hard. I don't believe in it. I don't believe it's a conspiracy. She died with someone running her over or something. But oh my God, it's really hard sometimes to be like, she was the one exposing them, and then like she got in a tunnel and they killed her.
Well, I think the difficult thing is, especially for any family with a lot of prestige, marrying into it is going to probably suck, because the idea that the royal family of England is classist and will look down on you for not coming from a royal family, like, of course they are. They've been raised their entire lives to be that way. And I mean, like, I wouldn't want to be friends with them.
Yeah, and honestly, like, I think I don't either. I mean, and the fact that like they're still trying to like make things work. They basically lost all the money that they were getting after they quit following the Buckingham Palace. They took the security, they took everything away from them, which is really,
you know what? I hope that frees them up to live their lives in a way that makes them happy.
Agreed. Yeah. Okay, so here's one of mine where I get irritated so Biden in March did sign a 1.9 trillion rescue package, distributing 1,400 stimulus checks. My frustration is we want Georgia on the expectation everyone will get $2,000 checks. I don't want to hear we already got $600 from Trump. We were told 2,000. There was no question. Back and forth. I will literally fight to the death over this. Is it 600 stupid bucks? Absolutely. But if he was going to promise 2,000, do the 2,000. Don't do 1,400 where you start shaking people's faith and everything all over, because we're already stressed out. Our faith is already shaken. But he did distribute that. And when it was brought up to his press secretary, which by the way is doing an amazing job. I absolutely love her.
I love her.
Love her.
She's awesome.
But this is the one thing I'm going to say that I was irritated about. She said, yes, you already got 600. The 1,400 makes the 2,000. I'm like, shut the fuck up. You know exactly what you did. Shut the fuck up. So that is my vent on that situation. So Beyonce also in March became the most awarded. She won the most Grammy Awards in history. Pretty exciting because she is once again a Black woman who is getting notarized in the right way.
And she's awesome. Everyone knows it, and props to her.
Yes. Also in March, Deb Haaland Halland, did I say her name wrong? Confirmed as Interior Secretary. She is the first Native American cabinet secretary. Absolutely fantastic. And I will say, for somebody like Biden, where I had a little bit of like, I don't know. I am impressed with how he is filling his cabinet, and the diversity makes me so happy.
Well, and also just people with experience, in those industries, not just screwing over those industries, but in making those industries work is, a refreshing change.
Right. Yeah. I
Where like
absolutely.
these people go to work and we don't hear about them again because they're just working. Cool.
Right. Yeah. End of March was a little crazier. Boulder, Colorado, killing 10 people, sparking the same damn debate that we have in a giant cycle, which is, oh my God, people died. We should have gun control.
This is not the time to talk about it. This is a tragedy. Stop politicizing it.
Yes. It's like,
when you have a mass shooting every day, that ensures that you never talk about it. It's a great talking point.
yes.
But yes, people started going back in public and people started killing each other again.
Yep. And the thing is, like, it's just, that's the thing, is now people are comfortable again. So they're going to start shooting up again. And it's worse because we don't talk about mental health and what COVID did the last year to people mentally. Like, it messed people up. So, but anyways, not anyway, sorry. That was definitely, I'm like, anyway, someone died. It's fine.
Poor segue.
Yeah. Thoughts and prayers. Okay. So March 23rd, large cargo ship Ever Given gets stuck in the Suez Canal. Don't know why this was such a big deal, except for that it blocked everything and people had to literally move it. But I would not want to be the driver.
Oh, no.
Like, no, thank you. Into March, finally some justice for George Floyd. Derek Chauvin, thank you. So he was the one.
It's a short form of chauvinist, which is how you remember.
Irony.
I know, right?
The man who put his knee on George Floyd's neck. His trial began.
And guilty on all 3 counts.
Yeah. Yep. And
which was a surprise to me.
Huge surprise to you, everyone. Like, I was sitting next to my one of my friends, one of my coworkers, also a friend, African American, and she was tearing up and texting her partner because she was just like, I didn't think this was gonna happen. I'm like, I don't want you to feel this bad, but I didn't think it was too. I thought he was gonna get away with it. Like, and he didn't.
Well, I thought they probably had him on manslaughter. Mm-hmm. I think there's like real obvious manslaughter, certainly, but the murder charges, I mean, I think they were correct.
Yeah.
That he showed callous disregard for his life to the point that he died. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I think that it's crazy that there's so many reasons. And there's something I said on my, social media at one point. And I said, just because they're guilty doesn't mean that they actually are supposed to get killed by police. Like, police are supposed to, arrest them and let justice do its job.
Well, yeah, due process is a thing. Well, it's just like there was another shooting, a police shooting recently where, the person was running away from the cops, which if I were a Black dude, I would probably think about running from the cops too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And so, unless, they're running away and they have the codes to nukes and, they're going to set them all off if they get away from you.
Right.
I don't think there's any justification for deadly force to catch someone.
Oh, agreed. And then into March, obviously, not that I want to talk about Matt Gaetz, but he was caught by the New York Times, who found out he was in a relationship with a 17-year-old and was violating sex trafficking rules. So I'm not sure how far that's came. I haven't been updated on that one quite yet.
His partner in crime has pled guilty and is cooperating. So
wow. Okay.
It could get interesting.
Yeah. DMX in April died, unfortunately, at 50. Prince Philip died at 99.
I was going to say he was not 73.
Yeah, he was 99. He was married to Queen Elizabeth for 73 years. And that's so far from here until April. everything else that has happened, and you know, May will definitely get back to on our next show, of course. But I do have to show you this amazing book because this is who I will be interviewing next. Liam Mcdonald, The Artist That Is Betrayed. It's a very, very dark artistic book. I enjoyed it. Heartbreaking, very hard to look through and read and things like that. I did tell him that I felt bad because I read through a lot of it, but I didn't get through all of it. So we're gonna.
Fail.
I felt so bad, but I did interview him, so we're gonna go there. But I wanted to thank you, Patty, for coming back. We'll obviously see you in a couple of weeks, and we'll try to get back on our shows again so that we can talk about what happened in May.
Perfect.
Yeah. Other than that, we will be right back. Okay, and we are back. Thank you so much, Patty. Love you so much. You're so good at this. Our guest is a familiar guest. This is Liam Mcdonald. How are you? You're an artist. You are you like to create trouble everywhere, is what I'm hearing.
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Not bad, not bad. I think we both, before we started the interview, were like, oh my God, I'm so tired. Like, what is happening
Yes.
in the world? So I'm really.
Has America started?
What was that?
Has America started to open up again?
Okay, so I live in Oregon, and I can tell you right now, it is only a little bit opening. Some things are opening. A lot of the red states, the conservative states, are burning their masks and throwing everything away. And Oregon's more of like a bluish, purplish state, which means they got a little bit of conservative. So the governor has her work cut out for her. Our infection rates went up quite a bit, and so she's shutting it down again for a few weeks. So
Okay.
We're kind of back and forth. It is a little frustrating because like it's such a tease. Understand why, but it's still a tease, you know?
Yeah, I feel you.
Yeah. How about where you are right now, UK? Where are you specifically?
Pardon?
Where are you specifically?
I'm in London, so
Yeah,
central London. So we are opening up completely soon. So we're allowed to go to restaurants, but it's outside, eating and dining. Our government has just done a 3,000 people nightclub thing to test to see if you can ram as many. There's like one night and it had like 3,000 people go, and they all got tested. And it's just like a test run to see if they can open up nightclubs yet.
That's
so
amazing.
It's quite fun and exciting.
Are you gonna go?
They had it last night.
Oh,
I didn't go. No.
Okay. So I want to talk to you obviously about some exciting news. I know we hinted at this last time you came on my show, and it is finally your book, and it is Liam Mcdonald, The Artist That Betrayed. I always get so afraid because I know the name of it, but I get afraid that I'm going to say it wrong. Now, there is so much in this book that we need to talk about. First of all, I'm going to talk about the art because that's obviously what I flipped through first. It's emotional. It's a very emotional book. Every piece of the art is staggering. It's very blunt, but it is beautiful. I'm going to pull out a couple of my favorites, but part of it, honestly, I'm going to sound crazy here, but it's really the sex work toward, was it the middle of and they're so simplistic, but they're so emotional. Can you tell me about it?
Yeah, about the drawings.
Yeah.
So the drawings came about over lockdown, so I don't really do drawings. When I couldn't be in my studio to paint, I started to do tiny drawings. Yeah. And I would revisit my past, and I wanted to be able to capture this really kind of graphic situation, but drawn so elegantly and quite fragile, hence why they were on small pieces of paper, thin chalk. But I was asked to be in a show called The Discerning Eye, and in London. And I submitted a couple of my drawings, and then within 24 hours, I just had emails from all over the world saying they want to buy loads of my drawings. And I just started to draw more and more and more. And I ended up having this whole kind of portfolio of like my late teens of the things that I went through.
Yeah. So one of the things I noticed, especially with it, there's one that shook me a little bit, which is, I'm going to quote it, "I'm so sore, I want to go home." Such a powerful picture. Now, I think somebody, at least in this picture, which I'm not sharing on here, not because I don't want to, but I want people to buy your books. So they're going to have to, they're going to have to do the work. But there's something about gay sexuality, which is what I'm seeing here, in which I think there's so much publicizing of it, right? In which it's like pornography, where everything's just so animated and everything just works, so to speak. It doesn't matter what your kink is in, it's going to work this way. But these pictures actually made me feel like there was non-consent in any way. And can you tell me a little bit about that?
So
we're jumping right into the hard ones, hard questions.
So, truth to be told, I like to target situations that aren't spoken about in the gay community. And I think if you look at the queer art movement in New York, it's very pro-love wins, and these elegant paintings of cute gay couples holding hands and the fight for gay rights. And what isn't spoken about is the kind of underground thing that happens behind the scenes, which I experienced firsthand coming out gay, which is a lot of drug use. There's a lot of hardcore kind of sex parties and things that happen that you deeply regret for the rest of your life. And that drawing is of me. And I remember when I think I was like 21, and I just did loads of drugs, and I was at this sex party, and I just remember being in so much agony, and I just went home and cried. And from then on, I was like, I have to let this side of the gay community be seen and heard. So that's what the drawings are basically about. They're kind of exposing the underground taboo.
Yeah. Well, and kind of like what it describes is how candid you are about your experiences. We talk about something like chemsex, which I think we should remind our audience what that means, because I mean, I personally have not been in that environment. When I came out, it was more destructive on my family side than actually going out to the clubs and experiencing gay life. Kind of the queer as folk, really aggressive piece, and that's not even close to it. So tell me, what is chemsex?
So chemsex is basically parties where a group of men would come and meet to have sex with each other, but would take heavy drugs like meth or G, or it's known, quite graphic words, it's known as the rape drug, where women get spiked. It's the same sort of thing as where you personally take it yourself because you want to feel very vulnerable and you want to be just basically torn apart.
Wow.
And I think it's quite an emotional thing to witness. And a lot of people that get involved in it are actually quite depressed and can't find love and can't find happiness. And the only thing that they've got to make them feel alive is this kind of hardcore, scary environment. It becomes very addicting. And I know loads of people that get involved in it who are addicted to taking drugs and having wild sex.
Yeah.
The influence of drugs.
Is that something that you enjoyed at one point in your life? What about it really made...
To be perfectly honest with you, I grew up in the countryside in England.
Yeah.
And I had no idea this sort of lifestyle existed. I was very naive of the gay community. And so when I seen it, I was like, this is insane. Like, it was just so new to me. that at the start I liked it, and then at the end I realized that actually this is a kind of monstrous thing to get involved in, and everybody who is involved in it are actually monsters. They don't care about your mental health or your emotions.
Yeah.
It's a very difficult thing. In England, there's loads of documentaries on TV about it. A lot of the sexual health clinics. There's one in London, a famous sexual health clinic called Dean Street, and they actually have a documentary online about their not customers, but the people that go to them who get involved in this sort of stuff and the things that they see. And it's a big conversation right now in England, is chemsex.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, this is kind of one of those things. As an interviewer, I lack the experience. I can't be like, oh yeah, well, like I remember back when. Like I don't. I actually, what makes me have to empathize and see really where people are is to figure out, kind of jump into their worlds where they were. And this, I mean, that seems very scary. I mean, we did talk about kind of how much what you liked about it. And you say that also this inspires you creatively. Do you ever feel like you can't creatively or create art without this type of, I'm going to say toxicity, but I know that's not the right word, but we'll say toxicity.
So I could easily, yes, but I don't do art other than to release what's in my mind. It's almost like speaking to a therapist. I could speak to a therapist about loads of things, but really I'm going to speak to them about my problems. And what my problem is the things that I've gone through, and that's why I draw what I draw.
Yeah.
So I could create artwork that is completely different, but I wouldn't be as true to my art as I am if I wasn't to draw what I do.
Yeah, and it seems like it's become successful. Like you've made money off it. When did you start making money off of it?
Well, my paintings from the jump, but my drawings, I mean, over lockdown, it's been booming. It's just shot internationally. So because of the discerning eye show, and that's why I think my work is really important, and I defend it, even though I get quite a lot of negativity towards it. I owe my work everything. It's fed me, it's housed me, it's kept me financially stable, and I kind of owe such loyalty to my work that regardless of what people say about it or what kind of movements, like the queer art movement in New York, regardless of what they throw at me, I still defend it, and I still create the work that I do. I could paint about other things and draw about other things, but I don't.
Yeah, well, and I always also I think as a writer myself, I can say it is hard to write and not think, oh God, what's someone going to think? Like we're always going to in our head defend it. We're going to do our best to stay, but there's always that anxiety of,
right,
what is this going to do? I have to do it, but what am I going to do? And yeah, I mean, even looking, going through your book and learning more and more about it. Now, I'm not going to lie. I regret I did not get through all of the book. I got through a lot of the first part of it. So that's why I'm kind of being a little nervous, because I should have got more through it, and I apologize. I am the worst interviewer ever, because I was like, damn it. But I do want to talk about your mom and you. And I know we talked about it originally, but it really delves deep into that childhood of where all of this, I guess, sadness and depression came from, that inspired you to make art. Tell me about that.
It really did, yes. It really did. So as you would know in the book, I really sucked at high school. I was terrible at my exams. I was terrible at everything. I was quite I wouldn't say malicious teenager, but I was quite rough. I didn't really have much going for me. And it wasn't until I had to redo my exams that I started to create artwork. And it had just always been about my mother and about what I had been through. And it just grew from there. And now it is significant part of my work as my mother.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's funny because there's a picture of your mom in here, going from I'm bouncing around the book, obviously, because your mom is family photo, and then you talk about, did you graduate through high school? I may have missed this, and I apologize.
So I I graduated with no qualifications.
Yeah, because I remember they switched. That's right. They switched you from taking you out of school and put you in a primary school. Is that right?
So in the United Kingdom, the education system is primary school is when you're a child.
Okay.
So from like, I don't know, 5 to like 9, 10, or 11. And so I was switching around primary schools.
Got it.
And
okay.
then from like 13, I went to high school, left high school with no qualifications, went to college to redo my schoolwork. When I redid my schoolwork, I then went to university.
Got it. Okay. So one of the things I want to talk about with this specifically geared toward it, one I got to ask, how is the book doing?
Brilliant. It's sold out completely.
Really?
Yeah. It's doing a second print. Yeah.
Yay. Awesome. I was really afraid to ask that question too, because I'm like, how's it doing? You're like, well, we're
Yeah, no, it's completely sold out, which is
I believe it. I mean,
incredible thing.
I had a close friend who picked it up, and they started flipping through it, and I was flat out worried that like they were gonna be like, oh my God, this is so traumatizing. But instead they're like, wow, this is really amazing. And I'm like, yeah, if you start reading it, it's actually even good. And I want to tell you that like I've been really impressed at even getting through some of it, because it's right in front of my table. Like it's on my coffee table. I've got my Disney stuff and it's like on top of it. So go there in the most awkwardest way possible is you got this book and you've got you got this and you got a Disney magazine to read. That's it.
What a choice. It couldn't be any more dramatically different to one another.
Nope, not even close. So people pick up this book thinking, oh, okay, it's gonna have some pretty pictures in it or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, it is, but I mean also it's gonna be a little traumatizing and it's fine. No, but yeah, I mean, as I keep opening it up and things like this, have we already talked about who inspired you artistically?
Yeah, Tracy Emin, most definitely.
Yes.
She's a British contemporary artist. Egan Sheila is another one. Francis Bacon.
I love it. I love this art. It's very emotional. Even as I open this up with you again, I sat down and spent a couple hours looking through it, and I will say it does make you think, because art is supposed to be a movement. And in 2020, we're going to kind of switch gears, but in 2020, COVID really hit people in a mental and emotional way. A lot of people had to face themselves, and artists do that daily. They face themselves through different ways. How do you think 2020 has affected your artwork? And I know like we can talk commercially, the drawings and productivity or things, but how do you think mentally and emotionally it's affected you?
So lockdown has been tough on families up and down, my nation, your nation, everybody's nation. It's been a very traumatic time, and it's been all over the place. I think a lot of people's mental health has been rough, and we are forced to see ourselves through lockdown. But for me, it's a peculiar one, because I actually enjoyed 2020. As an artist, I hide away and I paint in my studio for months on end. I don't really see the world. I don't get a chance to stop. So it was just a normal year for me. Okay. Although this time I knew everybody around me was also isolating and being in their own sort of bubble. Yeah. But it did affect me. It did affect me that much. But I do know it's affected a lot of people, and it's we will always remember 2020.
Yeah.
And we will look back in 10 years' time, and we will know where we went wrong and how we went wrong as a world. And
yeah, and I want to talk politics after our break, because you're normally like my political guy. So you give me like a good view of like what everyone thinks of our crazy country in the United States of America. So
yeah.
So if you have a few more minutes, we will be right back with Liam Mcdonald, and we will be back. Okay, and we are back with Liam Mcdonald, Artist That Was Betrayed is his book. if I didn't just murder the name again. It's a biography. So you did not write this, obviously. Someone wrote this about you, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Awesome. So I have some more questions about it before we get into politics.
Okay.
So I want to talk about, first of all, your painting, because you said right now you're just doing a lot of drawing and things like that. Something I did notice with it even more, and we talked about this as well. It looks like almost your art is crumpled up and then kind of like and opened up. Like, can you tell me why it's not? My OCD, it just flares up. Like, why is this not on a flat sheet and in squares and all this? But obviously I'm not an artist from that way. So tell me, why do you do it that way? Why does it look almost as if I'm pulling it underneath the sink and being like, oh my God?
So with my paintings, I think I have this kind of weird relationship with my paintings. It's a love-hate relationship. And I have so much emotions within me that I can't just sit still and draw this beautiful photograph or painting. And with my canvases, they're kicked around my studio for months on end. I walk over them, I'll eat on top of them. I just live with my canvases. And then I kind of like hammer them onto the wall with these kind of big, bulky nails. And I'll paint so many different kind of things and levels and different materials, and I'll just grate them away or sandpaper them away, and it kind of just deteriorates the canvas, and it kind of looks like rotting meat, and like you said, underneath the sink kind of thing. And I think I do that because the things I paint about, I still have kind of anger towards it, and I take that anger out of my materials.
Interesting.
So with the drawings, I kind of like rip books apart rather than, you know, carefully make it neat and tidy. I don't believe in neat and tidy work when it's the type of work that I do. I think you have to make it as honest as possible, as candid and as raw as one can possibly make it. And that's why my materials, and it's just so kind of.
Yeah, because I'm not going to really bring up it much. I will say, so I saw an article, I think it was on social media that came up very recently where someone was attacking you. And it seemed as if you were very comfortable defending your work. I'm not going to bring it up because I normally bring up only things I know, and I ignored it because I'm like, Liam is awesome. I'm not going to say a word. It's art, but how do you feel? Let's talk about so this obviously upsets people, things like that, right? So why continue to be so blunt about your work?
Like I said, my work has fed me, housed me. It's kept me financially stable. I owe my life to my work, and I will defend my work throughout my life. Without my work has transformed me as a person and to my whole entire life. To say I show my work in Germany, Spain, France, America, all these European countries, and have my work known internationally, it's something that, of course, I'm going to defend it.
Yeah.
And I don't care what people say about it, and I don't care about the bad reviews or the negativity or the hate that I receive. My work is my work, and I will stand by it no matter what.
Yeah, because here's the thing: is you're always in your life going to be aware that people will interpret it different. When I look at your work, I feel something, and it's funny. There's someone at my there's a piece of art that I've seen recently, and it's literally like this square piece of cardboard, and it's got like 3 colors of brown. And I'm like, and apparently this is like a well-known artist, and like the person who had it, they love it or whatever. I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense to me. I'm like, what are they doing? I could do that. But when I see yours, I feel the emotion. There's that emotional consent. I know that mental sexual awareness, things like that is really important. And with your work, sometimes it's important to be it is important to be blunt about, it is important to be aware that things like this happen. Things are not all life in the park.
Well, I think that's why I receive the amount of hate that I do, because it forces people to actually feel something. And if they can't control how they feel, they feel how they feel when they look at my work. Normally, you kind of pick and choose how you want to feel about a piece of artwork. With mine, you're forced to feel a specific way, and you're forced to look at a subject that a lot of people pretend it isn't a thing, or don't want to believe that it's a thing. And actually, so I think that's what my work does good, is force people to face their emotions.
I'm impressed with it. I'll bring it up at the end of our interview again, but I want to talk politics. Okay, so we since we talked, there's been a few things about, I know I'm going to bring him up, but Trump, there's one of those. Apparently he's still trying to get attention. There's a documentary that came out called Q, Enter the Storm, which talked about the Q movement and the conspiracy there. Have you had a chance to watch that yet?
I've got to be perfectly honest with you. I think my life has been very good about having Trump in my life, or anything to do with Trump. Right. And since he's left office, I've heard nothing, and it's going very, very well. So I haven't watched it, and I probably won't watch it. Yeah. I think it was really, really important for America to have somebody like Donald Trump in power, because it just shows the rest of the world voting is very important. Yeah. And I think if there was any time it was going to happen, it was going to be then. Mm-hmm. And I haven't watched it, and I'm not going to watch it either. I don't particularly care about the Trump family anymore. Yeah. I think there was a fair election, and I've been very frank with my opinions. If Donald Trump would have received a majority of votes, I would have, not support him, but I would have fair play. He lost, and that's the last thing that. Yeah. That's my opinion. He lost.
And this documentary is about the QAnon conspiracy, and it does have Trump involved, or talks about how he created that. And I think that, like, Trump doing right now, what he's doing in Florida is, I feel like, I'm going to ask you this question instead of just tell you how I feel. Do you think he's going to run again?
Oh, absolutely. Oh my God. Yeah. This is not the last chance we've had. Well, maybe not Donald Trump himself, but the Trump family will most definitely be back. And I've got to be honest with you. I think if it's his daughter, what's her name? What's the daughter's?
I don't know.
Ivanka's the wife,
Ivanka.
Right?
It is. No, it's Ivanka. Maybe it's Ivanka. I think it's Ivanka. So, look how much I care about them.
I think that she will win, and I think hands down she will be the first female president. Yeah. I do think the Trump will run again. Yes. I think they will win. Expect it's the daughter.
Well, I know recently there was some talk about her getting in trouble legally, so we'll see where that goes. Partially because of her work at the White House. And of course, Trump has like just myriads of lawsuits against him right now. I doubt he's going to get, I would be very surprised if he ran again. And if he does, he's going to have a harder time getting people's attention, because he's basically banned from every social media. So
that's true.
Yeah, but we'll see.
But the Republican Party, I don't support the Republican Party. I'm not a conservative in any shape or form, but I would think the Republican Party would be mad to separate themselves from Donald Trump after Donald Trump becoming the second most voted candidate in America. Right. I think any political party would be mad to move away from a big name like that. So I think the Republican Party are going to be very have a lot of infighting now. I think it's going to be a very kind of fun thing to watch.
What we're seeing right now is we're seeing copycats, lots of copycats now. People are saying that things that Trump would say, trying to act as if they're pro-life or always pro-life, and trying to make these really aggressive moves against like Democrats and things like that. Right now, I truly believe that in a couple of years, if they do have a candidate, I don't know how strong that candidate is going to be. But after that, I don't know. They could, the United States is very racist. It's a very racist country. The world has been very racist, but our country specifically have been very good at pretending it doesn't exist. So so that's something. So how do you think Biden is doing?
I think Biden is doing a very good job for an old man. I think he's doing pretty well. And I have to be honest with you, when I watched every move that he made when he made office, and he was overturning Trump's policies like dominoes. I mean, and I was like, that is how you do it. and I just think that is just brilliant. And
yeah,
I'm so happy that we have someone like Joe Biden running the United States rather than Donald Trump.
Yeah.
I wasn't a Biden supporter throughout the voting and stuff like that, but well, no, for the voting, yes, but the Democratic nomination.
Right. Hey, all Bernie here.
Yeah.
I get it. Yeah. No, I know. Yeah. So,
but I think he's doing a brilliant job, and it's such an honor to see. And yeah, I think he's doing a fantastic job.
I think he's overall doing a really good job. It is hard to see because I talk to all different types of people, and it's like, it's so obvious how much Trump has brainwashed a lot of Republicans, saying one thing and then continually saying it over and over. People start believing it. And this documentary I'm bringing up to you too, it's Q, Enter the Storm or something. It does talk about that. It talks about how Trump was able to convince people that lies are real. They're true.
So let's just be perfectly honest, and let's be very frank. Republicans, conservatives, same as in my country, the conservatives, they are the most easiest people to brainwash or to just even win votes to. All you have to say is that an immigrant is taking their job, and then that's it. They're outraged and they're going to vote for you.
Right.
It's the easiest type of people to win votes from. So
yeah, I absolutely agree with you. I think
at the end of the day, they're just thick. They're thick people.
Yeah. I think moving forward with our country and where we're going, I am a little uncomfortable. I might be a little off on my news, but the last thing I heard about immigration was that Biden was going to keep Trump's immigration policy for a bit, which is really frustrating because it shrinks the bucket of immigrants so much smaller, and that's concerning. But
yeah,
compared to everything else he's had to put up with.
yeah. I think I don't really care if Biden does a bad job. I just don't. I think how could you possibly complain about Joe Biden when we've just gone through 4 years of bloody Donald Trump? Like, how can one find something wrong with Joe Biden? It's just, it's just peculiar.
I'm not going to lie. My shows have gotten a little more stupider because I don't have to stare at the news every 5 minutes and figure out what the hell's going on and be less informed.
Life is very different now, isn't it?
Yes, it really is. It's like I when first Biden came into office, I was watching his press conferences every day, getting daily briefings and feeling so well inept. And I am telling you, I have dropped the ball the last couple of months, and my shows have gotten stupider. And I'm just like,
but it's good. It's good to drop the ball. I think that's when you're actually comfortable, where you don't have to stare at the screen and watch everything. I think it's a good sign.
Yeah, it really is.
I haven't watched the news in a very long time, so it's a good thing.
That's a good sign. Yeah. Okay. Well, I want to end this way. Tell me. First of all, we're going to end with your book. So tell me where people, well, you're saying second print, so they're sold out, so nobody can get them now, but second print, where are we going to be able to find this book?
It will be in 2 months' time, and you just have to Google the name, Liam Mcdonald, The Artist for Trade, and it will become the first link to the top.
Okay. I am telling you, this is an incredible book. It's uncomfortable. It's poignant. It is difficult to get through. I will say there was sexual abuse in my past, so getting through this myself was very difficult, but the art is so almost healing, almost nurturing, almost like you were saying. It's like, it's almost an affirmation of what people go through. So I'm not trying to puff you up in any way. I actually think if it was not really well done, I'd be like, let's talk about something else. Disney movies? No. So, but is there anywhere else we can find you?
Just on my Instagram page, Liam Stoney McDonald.
Okay, cool. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to end with hashtags. Hashtag not me, us, hashtag Black Lives Matter, hashtag our revolution. Wash your fucking hands. Oh my gosh, people, the pandemic is not over. So for the love of God, be smart about things. Liam, oh my God, I cannot believe you keep coming on my show. I'm so grateful. Thank you so much for doing this for me again. I'm so excited about the book.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
No problem. Everyone have a good week.